Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Hello/X/ I have something to share and I really need advice. I usually don't come over here. I frequent other boards, but I'm in a kind of predicament right now. I simply don't know whether I can talk about it with anyone I know, and especially authorities, because I fear they will consider me insane and I'll get in trouble. I've decided to share my story here because I can stay anonymous. I won't disclose the location where this is happening. All you need to know is it's one of the European capitals. Some 3 months ago, I got a job in one of the office buildings as a junior maintenance worker. It's very simple work, mostly delivering and assembling furniture, setting up workstations and that kind of stuff. The building I work at is actually a skyscraper. It has 32 above-ground floors and 5 basement levels. The one in the picture is not it, by the way, just a random image. First 2 months of work were absolutely normal. I helped set up workstations for some new departments of a couple companies that rent floors in the building. We moved a large department from one floor to another and did a lot of small tasks. About 2 weeks ago, I started stumbling over some weird shit. We began April as usual, picking tasks, looking up whatever is planned for the month, trying to manage the timetable. At some point, I've noticed something I didn't pay attention to before. There were never any tasks related to floor 24. At first, I found it curious, but then dismissed it. It simply wasn't rented by any company yet. Then I realized that it's not the only floor that is empty, but all the other floors still had some stuff to do on them from time to time, if only a weekly checkup. 24th? Nothing like that. I wanted to ask one of my colleagues about it, but at first I didn't want to make a fool out of myself, in case there's some plain and simple reason. Then I just forgot about it. A week ago, though, I was taking the elevator and I recalled my curiosity. I hit the button for floor 24, but nothing happened. It didn't lit up as other buttons do. At first I thought its LED burnt out or something, but no matter how many times I hit it, the elevator wouldn't go to the 24th. We actually have 6 elevators in the building and I've tried every single one, growing more and more curious. Same thing. What this means is that it isn't an elevator malfunction. Buttons were deliberately shut off to prevent elevators from going to floor 24. Naturally, all kinds of thoughts started going through my mind, like that movie Loft and Matrix, where tall building floors are used to hide something in plain sight in the middle of the city. I dismissed those thoughts at first. The floor wasn't rented and wasn't used. Maybe the buttons were shut off so people don't wander there. But again, there are other unrented floors, and I could get there just fine. That sparked my curiosity again. Unhealthy curiosity, I guess. Over the course of my work, I befriended a senior maintenance worker who worked in this building pretty much since when it got built, many years ago. He is in his 50s, a bit harsh on the outside, but overall a good man. I've asked him about floor 24, as casually as I could, sort of mentioning it while talking about random daily stuff. I could swear he stiffened for a second, but then relaxed and just said, "It's closed." "Closed?" I asked. I played being casually surprised because there isn't such a thing as a closed floor for maintenance, really. He simply replied, "Yeah, we don't work there." Then he left, claiming he had something else to finish. I'm sure you understand this was pretty strange. And because I'm a goddamn idiot, my curiosity started growing stronger and stronger. Finally, this Friday, I've decided to check what's going on floor 24. I just couldn't sleep having such a mystery or whatever it is right under my nose. After all, I was working as part of the building's staff. I'm pretty sure any one of you who had a job on the inside of whatever knows what I'm talking about. Once you gain access to all the back rooms and places behind personnel-only doors, you get this strange feeling of, I don't know how to describe it, being in, kind of like the secret club thing. You look at clients who are visiting differently, because they can't get where you can. And now I learned that there's a place where I can't get. That tackled my ego, I guess. And it's not like there was any rule or anything said at any time about floor 24. There was nothing prohibiting me from getting in. So I came over to work on Saturday, claiming I forgot to finish something that had to be ready for Monday. Security wasn't suspicious at all. Stuff like that happens from time to time. I went into our office, got my stuff, I have a small toolbox, and took an elevator to floor 25. Now I couldn't do anything with the elevator buttons. Technically, I have the tools to open the control panel, and I probably could figure out how to wire it to get me to 24th. But our elevators have cameras, so yeah, out of question. I went down the stairwell and stood in front of thick, fireproof door of 24th. It wasn't marked in any way, and it was just like any other door on any other floor, with one exception. We use magnetic cards to open locks on those doors to gain access. The usual lock was also on this door, but the light on it wasn't on, which meant the lock was shut off. Being a smartass that I am, I figured it's a maintenance problem and I should take a look. You know how it is, you pull excuses out of your ass on the go. Of course, I only wanted to get in. Luckily, over the course of my work, I had one of my colleagues train me in very simple maintenance for those locks. They were oldish and faulty, so we often had to check up on them. I pulled my tools out and got to work. Luckily, the lock itself had the power. It's simply that cables inside were disconnected. Normally, it would strike me as strange, but I was in the zone. I had to get in there. I short-wired the lock and heard the usual click of door getting open. I pushed it a bit with my foot, grabbed my tools, and opened the door wider. The first thing that struck me was that entire floor was pitch black. Yeah, sure, it's unused and all, but you see, the floors in our building have huge windows that take entire surface of outer walls. Saturday was pretty sunny. It was midday. There had to be at least some light on the floor. And what I stared at was complete, utter darkness that isn't even possible at night because of the city lights on the outside. Perhaps the windows were covered by something? I didn't feel much distress yet, more of an adrenaline of having an adventure. I took a flashlight out of my toolbox, placed the box itself to keep the door open, and stepped in. At first, I noticed that the floor was covered with a thick layer of dust, which made me leave distinct footprints. I thought that it might be some sort of construction dust, as it usually is when buildings are being finished. But no, the floor seemed finished. The dust had to accumulate here naturally over a very long time. I've checked the light switches and had no success. Seems like the entire floor had its power disconnected. Curious, I moved further in. The small corridor took me out into an open space type of office, which took about half of the floor. The other half consisted of enclosed rooms. I've instantly noticed two very, very weird things. First of all, the windows were not covered by anything. There simply was a complete darkness behind them, as if someone coated them with a thick layer of silicone or whatever from the outside. The second thing is that the office actually had stuff in it. There were lines of desks everywhere, with computers on them, chairs beside. Everything was covered in dust. I've decided to take a closer look at the desks first. The thing that struck me is that computer monitors were all CRTs, and fairly old models too. Something out of the 90s. Old plain computer boxes, mechanical keyboards, mice without mouse wheels. There were other objects on the desks too. Pencils, documents, coffee mugs, and a lot of other office and personal stuff. It was as if everyone just left the office after a day of work. For 20 years. I've decided not to touch anything for now because I'd leave clean marks in the dust and I started to feel anxious. Instead, I came over to one of the windows. I shined a light outside to figure out why it was so dark. My first thought of it being covered from the outside was wrong. The light came clean through and sunk into some sort of black smoke? I can only describe it like that. It was as if everything outside was filled with thick, black smoke, no wind or anything. It twirled and moved slightly, but light couldn't get more than a forearm length in. At some point, I could swear there was something else outside. Some weird shape or shapes were in the smoke. I don't know if it's just my imagination. I really hope so. Then I heard the noise. It was coming from one of the enclosed rooms. It's hard for me to describe it. I guess it was like clacking of mechanical keyboard when someone types on it. And then a phone rang inside one of those rooms. It startled me so much I let out a loud gasp, and then I knew I had enough. I bolted towards the stairwell, praying for it to still be open, kicked the toolbox outside and shut the door behind me. I sat there listening, trying to catch any sound coming from the inside, almost paralyzed in fear. Then I quickly opened the lock again and made sure the wires were disconnected like they were before. I went back into the maintenance office, got myself some tea, ate and tried to calm myself down. When I managed that, I passed the security desk and made it outside. I called in sick this week. I have no idea what to do right now. I'm absolutely sure at least some part of the building crew is in on it. On what, I have no fucking idea. I can't talk to them about it, and I hope nobody notices what I did. I don't think the police will give a damn about my story, as it doesn't involve anything illegal. And I don't want to talk to my friends or family about it, because they might consider me insane. Also about the ego thing, I'm not a full-time qualified maintenance man. I study and it was kinda hard for me to find a job right now, so I took this one for the time being. I should probably get out and work wherever else and just forget about the whole thing. What do you think I should do?
Bump. I am interested in hearing what thoughts OP has that he hasn't shared yet, if there are any.
Really, I have no idea what I bumped into. Naturally, I gave it some thought. There's just way too much weird stuff going on. First of all, you don't just abandon an office overnight leaving all the stuff. And it didn't look like people evacuated from there either. I would probably see some stuff tipped. They would take personal belongings, maybe a chair that was rolled far from the desk in a hurry. Nothing like that was there. Second thing is the building crew. I am sure that owners know about this shit, no idea how much. I feel like they encountered something insane and just decided to seal it off and never speak of it. If they told new workers to never visit the floor, one of them would get curious for sure. Instead, they chose not to speak of it and rely on the simple social mechanic. If you don't have to do something somewhere, you don't go there. I bet nobody pressed those 24th floor elevator buttons for years, even though the building is in constant use. And then there's just plain supernatural stuff. There isn't any damn smoke visible outside. Unless I'm utterly insane, we're talking about some sort of alternate reality or space distortion or whatever. And I don't even want to think what made the keyboard noise and who the hell would call a phone on an abandoned floor. This is just too much. I have more questions than I have answers.
If you ever go back there, I know you may never, and it may not be a good idea either. But if you ever do, break a glass and get out of there. Then you may get a chance to know more about that place.
The glass we're speaking of is skyscraper windows, and you should know. Those are pretty damn hard to break. They have multiple layers, coating, and are made to withstand heavy wind pressure, as well as slight shifts and stretching of building structure. So yeah, even if I ever go back, I have no idea whether I will be able to break those with anything but, I don't know, a battering ram? Or hitting it repeatedly with a sledgehammer. Besides, I have a strange feeling that even if I'm relatively safe inside, once I break the window, the black smoke will pour in. And then I'm screwed on many levels.
What if it was actual smoke? Has there been any large fires in this city? Maybe the floor is just a window in time.
The way the smoke behaved behind the window, it was as if outside was an enclosed space and smoke filled 100% of it, densely. It was very dense and it wasn't moving around much, just twirling a bit, like smoke does. I don't even know if it was actual smoke. It's just the closest thing I can think of.
Can you draw a floor plan of the 24th floor in MS Paint or whatever, please?
Here, I'm not good at drawing stuff like that. I'm sure I messed up some proportions. Also, some stuff I have to assume because I haven't seen the entire floor. Most floors differ between each other in the way how rooms and stuff are placed, although WCs and kitchen are always in the same spot, as well as elevator shafts and stairwells, of course. I entered through the right stairwell, went into the open space, and the noise I heard was coming somewhere from the enclosed rooms in the middle, I think on my half of the floor.
Well, it's obvious that in those rooms there is something very secret, since it's so well hidden from other people. What gets my attention is the fact that you heard noises from there. It almost seems like that those people who work there never exit the floor. The darkness makes me think that they don't need light. Only thing I can quickly think of are robots, since those won't move much nor need light. That doesn't explain the phone ringing, though. Also, did you try to observe the windows from outside the building?
The thing is, judging from the lack of footprints in the dust, I was the first person to enter the floor for many, many years. I thought about it at some point, but the windows in our skyscraper are of those kind of mirrored kind, you know. You can't really see anything inside from higher floors, especially as high as 24th. They just reflect the sky.
Well, the lack of footprints supports the theory of something inhuman being in there. They obviously never exit the floor or their rooms, and they won't even walk around. The lack of light sounds pretty disturbing too. I just wonder, who never needs light, never walks around and still uses phones and keyboards?
Actually, and this is kind of funny, cartoon animators do. I used to work in the Disney animation studios, and there's a real issue when you're having multiple people working on multiple computers editing animation, with making sure colors match. So to help ensure there's no interference, they work in these offices surrounded by heavy drapes everywhere, so there's no outside light to interfere with their perception. Not related to OP's story, of course, but just a fun bit of trivia in answer to your inquiry.
Hey, OP, if you could hint at which city you were in, it might give us some more to work with, help you dig around. Also, have you considered looking up who used to rent the floor?
It's Eastern Europe. I can't really say more. I came here to be anonymous. As you might imagine, I'm crapping my pants on an hourly basis right now. I've done my own digging, but couldn't find information on whoever rented it before. I'm pretty sure the building owners wiped the outside records. Whatever they keep inside, I don't have access to.
How big of a boss is the guy you spoke to? I mean, ask yourself, could he even be related to this shit?
He's not the boss at all. He's just a maintenance worker. He simply works in the building for a very long time. I'm sure he knows something, but I don't think prying is a good idea.
That is interesting. He's only a maintenance worker, but he still showed clear signs of lying when you asked him about the floor. He must have thought that you might belong to the group of people he is allowed to tell about the floor, but then decided to take no risks. Also, Eastern European mysteries are the most interesting ones, since with the Soviet Union and all the stuff relating to that going on, meant that everything had to be hidden. That's probably why there are so many mysteries to begin with.
Is the building a renovated Soviet-era building? Would you say it is to the north or south of Eastern Europe? Did you notice any funny smells or cold spots in there? Describe some items lying around, maybe. Also, what do you think was in the smoke you saw? Sorry if I am being nosy, but this is the first time in a long time we have had good stuff on here.
It was built in the 90s, that's as much as I can say. I don't really want you pinpointing it. It could get me in trouble, even if I'm just paranoid. Yeah, I'm pretty damn paranoid right now, I'm sure you understand. That being said, I think the office, computers, and everything else was placed there soon after the building got built and open for business. And the floor was abandoned some short time after. There was only the smell of old abandoned building and dust. It's kind of distinct. I used to visit a couple abandoned places in my life, so it's comparable. Nothing strange there. I didn't notice any changes in temperature. It was colder than regular offices, but not much. Probably simply due to smoke outside obstructing all the light coming in. And before you ask, the 23rd and 25th floors have regular offices there, and they don't see anything suspicious outside the windows.
Have you tried visiting those two other floors and trying to look for anything even remotely suspicious around there? There must be some way to get to floor 24 without opening the door. You should also try to listen for voices or sounds coming from below or above you, whether you are on the 23rd or 25th floor.
I've been to those floors routinely a few times over the course of my work. They are absolutely normal. Nothing odd there, and people never complained about anything weird, not even noise. Granted, the floors and ceilings are so thick you can't really hear anything that's going on the other floor, unless some power tools or whatever are used, I guess. There weren't any such reports though, as far as I know. I'm fairly sure the only way to the 24th is through the elevator shafts and one of the two staircases, unless we're talking about breaking the window up from outside or drilling through the floor and ceiling of floors above and below respectively. And that kind of stuff won't fly naturally.
Has anything happened to you since? Any cars parked near where you live that was not there before? People that do not quite fit in? Since you said it was built in the 90s, I'm going to assume it was after the curtain came down, so it was when the markets just got ripped open for the Westerners to go in. Maybe they stumbled on something. Maybe the building was built on something. Tell me, is there an extensive subway/metro where you live, or some kind of catacombs or old underground bunker/sewer system? The reason I asked about the smells and temperature was because it could indicate regular hauntings and such, but this sounds almost like an alternate reality of sorts, or some kind of hole in the veil of reality.
Well, I called sick leave this week, so I'm home, trying to figure out what to do. I haven't noticed anything suspicious outside the window or whatever. I didn't get any calls from work after informing my boss I'm sick. The skyscraper was built after the USSR fell, on the wave of major investments. I'm pretty sure it was handled by locals and not international investors, though. There is a subway. It's also a capital, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it has an extensive underground system, but I have no idea whether it is in the vicinity. I'm not sure how anything underground might be connected to the 24th floor, though.
Hello. I am very interested in this story and would like to join the solving of this mystery. Of course, considering OP is not toying with us, I would like to pitch my theory here. I think that the owners want to keep this floor hidden due to the fault of an accident. Maybe that there was a fire there that many people died from that would make sense that there is that black smoke outside the window, and that it can only be seen from the inside. That assumes that it is maybe a window in time to show the past. Using info from the reading, he stated that the floor had layers of dust, assuming it had not been used in 20 years. That makes me think that a fire could have happened in late 80s to early 90s, and at the least by 1994 the building was fixed and was rented out. But strange anomalies happened on the 24th floor, leading managers or owners to shut down the floor and disconnect power and activities to the area that would explain the computers and items left on the floor. Maybe the renters at the time said, "Hey, we don't like this, we're leaving today."
The smoke feels so out of place with the rest of the story. There are no paranormal things in a fixed location you could walk up to and film like that. I would have been much more inclined to believe if there was something covering the windows, or if they were simply treated to appear black. OP is either making the whole story up, lying about the smoke due to fear of being told, "You ran away from nothing," or he was so panicked that he imagined the smoke. Anyway, as to abandoned without struggle, if a company calls its employees to not come in anymore, there is little they'd be able to do to retrieve any personal property from the building. Everything would be left as it was on the last workday.
What a stupid, arbitrary assumption. Nothing that could be considered paranormal could exist in a fixed location. So saith the basement-dwelling, neat dumb fuck fedora whale from nowhere. Thank you for this profound insight.
If solid paranormal things existed in fixed locations, anyone could walk up to and witness them at any time, then it wouldn't be so fucking hard to get evidence. The paranormal is far more subtle, often easy to explain away. You can explain away the sound of a keyboard or a phone ringing. What brings the air of mystery to these occurrences is under the circumstances that they are happening. An abandoned floor people pretend doesn't exist. You can't explain away dense smoke permanently stationed over the windows. In fact, OP should film it because, fuck, that would be borderline conclusive evidence of paranormal shit going on. And it's not like a ghost or sound which might not be there again when you come back.
You really have to have the reading comprehension level of a gnat to think that this 24th floor is a place you can normally just walk up to and witness whatever is inside at any time. Any organization with power and competence would be able to effectively control and contain a static paranormal presence in one of their holdings. Also, if this story is true, OP will probably just get fired and barred access to the building. If the controllers made a huge blunder and somehow missed that he infiltrated the floor before taking a sick leave, they'll straight up murder him if he manages to break in and take pictures of the smoke, etc. That is, if whatever is inside doesn't get to do in that nosy bastard first.
It sounded like a pretty local level cover-up to me. Nobody in power would leave their super secret locked behind what amounts to a privacy lock someone with a few weeks of training would be able to open. But yeah, he asked about it, walked around trying to access it, left tracks and played with the lock. Very likely that everyone who gives a damn about access knows.
OP, is there any way to view the history on the card swiper? Also, if there weren't footsteps following from the door you entered, can you be sure there's not a secret combination on the elevator that's allowing people to get up there?
Yes, I believe there is. However, I didn't use my card but short-wired the lock instead. Locks are oldish, so they aren't that secure really, as long as you have time and tools to get inside. On second thing, it's hard to say. The elevator has a very regular control panel and nothing else. I have no way of checking what's beyond it. There is another stairwell, though. I'll check that.
But maybe you can check who else is in the history?
Only security has access to that kind of stuff. I can't even dream to get my hands on the history. I'm also pretty sure that nobody visits this floor anymore. I can't explain why exactly. I just feel that building owners simply want it to remain hidden and forgotten.
Hello, H here again. I would like to consider a new theory. After reading a bit, I do agree with the concern that OP may be lying to protect him and/or his family if he has one. I would like to talk to OP one-on-one here. I would like to tell you that you are here safe from anyone that may hurt you. Please give us more info so that we can help you and get to the bottom of this. I hope you will come through to us, OP, because if you don't, you are wasting everyone's time, including yourself. And we here at X don't enjoy that. Do not get me wrong, this is not a threat. It's been a while since we have had a good post, and I would hate to see these good people's time wasted if everything falls apart. I will make an update tomorrow, and hopefully OP will give us more info. I do want to thank everyone that is helping with progression in solving this, even though it is hard. I do see that we believe he lives in Poland, and I like that idea. It seems to fit well with the hotel idea. It was a good idea, but I personally think it's not that. I'll do some building research tonight and look up some areas and old records for the time and area of Poland.
Then OP gets spooked by people searching for a building matching its description.
Well, as I can see, people here took trying to find the building very seriously. I'm sorry to disappoint you all, but I also wouldn't like you to waste time. I lied about the number of floors, and it's not floor 24 because, yeah, buildings like that are pretty easy to find. I just didn't want to give arbitrary information, but you have to understand, I am paranoid about this. Until I find out more, I'm assuming there might be conspiracy of sorts and my life might be in danger, even if I believe this is unlikely. I know you can dig deep and I can't risk anything, even if my fear will turn out to be baseless. All you need to know is that it's in Eastern Europe. It's a very tall building and it was finished in the 90s. From the looks of it, floor 24, I'll keep calling it that, wasn't used since the 90s too. But I can't be certain. I didn't stay long enough to make sure. As for the smoke, I am absolutely positive windows are not covered by anything from the outside. Also, the windows are layered, but the overall thickness is about 5-ish centimeters, and the light from my flashlight seemed to go further. So unless there is some terrarium on the outside of the windows, I doubt the smoke is contained, no matter how weird it sounds. Also, any construction like that would be visible from the outside, and it's not.
You found a so-called closet company, Black Ops stuff. Can't tell you much, but don't ask and keep away from there. Next time you go, you might get killed. To be honest, they rarely kill snoopers like you, but if you become a liability, then it's a different matter. Stop posting and keep your mouth shut.
Black Ops. Are you implying that governments, government agencies, or military organizations either have the capability to harness forces that might be considered paranormal or have access to technology we've never even thought were possible? Why, I'm shocked. Even if it's true, none of the Eastern European countries are badass enough to hold such power. But we're living in a globalized world, and the real power players have holdings all around the world. The Spectrum skyscraper in Warsaw, for example, belongs to Europa Capital Partners, a huge London-based company which is now 75% owned by the Rockefeller Group.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember that the Rumble and Odyssey archives are available.